Modulation effects like chorus, phaser, flanger, vibe, and tremolo can add a lot of character to your synth sounds, and they sound particularly pleasing when used in stereo. This video compares 7 of the best multi-mode modulation pedals on the market. Multi-mode means that these stomp boxes are capable of delivering more than one type of modulation. This sets them apart from the other specialized single-use analog pedals like your typical Boss chorus or phaser. I tested them all with Novation gear, the Bass Station 2, as well as the Circuit Rhythm. And I'm going to highlight my top 3 favorites and give you a quick overview of the other 4, which are also very good. The Walrus Audio M1. This pedal is stereo in, stereo out, also has MIDI in and out, which is quite impressive for a pedal that's this size. And just a side note, I'd like to point out that I like that all these pedals have MIDI in and out. It's definitely something that is refreshing for synth users, and it's sort of a confirmation in general that effects pedals are becoming at least a little bit more catered to synth users. Let's take a look at these effects. We've got chorus, phaser, tremolo, what else? Vibe, rotary, and filter. What is it that makes the M1 unique? The answer is, again, the quality of the effects kind of sets it apart. High fidelity, so hi-fi, but there's also a lo-fi knob right here. This is a lo-fi pedal. I find that all of these effects just sound more lo-fi, especially with the addition of the lo-fi knob right here. Let's just go ahead and play it on this insane riff. This is without, let's turn it on. Here we go. Right, so there's some reverb in there, whichever effects we're on. What are we on? Tremolo, phaser. There's different modes for each of these as well. Let's do that. I'm actually going to turn this noise down. So to do that, I'm going to hit this pedal here, hold it down so it flashes. I'm on noise. It's kind of hard to see, but there's a smaller print there that says noise. Turn that down. So you do have control over these parameters here in the small print. And that's both for tweak as well as tune. Space, I want to turn that down a little bit. Space. Again, without. With. Let's turn that lo-fi down. And this time I'm going to tweak the vibe. I'm going to turn up the drive. Right, so we don't really hear anything unless there's the drive. So this coincides with the lo-fi knob. I'm actually going to turn that drive down a little bit. Universal Audio Astra has fewer options to choose from. It's the quality of these effects that really make this pedal attractive. Really interesting aesthetic as well. Like, does Jon Snow live on this pedal? In terms of what these sounds are based on, the Chorus Brigade is inspired by the sound of the first Boss chorus ever produced, the CE1 chorus vibrato. So we're going very vintage here. Flange Doubler is a tribute to MXR's classic rack unit. And the Trem 64 captures the optotube tremolo circuits of Fender amps in the 1980s. Probably tickling all the guitarists with that explanation, but we're going to be trying this on a synth riff with the Circuit Rhythm. In terms of the split, there's a classic mode where the wet and dry are split up between left and right. And then there's stereo mode, which is like a full balanced signal between left and right. To me, I find that Astra specifically shines when you play it with like longer pads sort of thing. So that's exactly what we're going to play with here. Let's try it. With it on, 2, 3, and we're currently on the flanger setting. Very cool. Without it, let's try chorus. Yeah, it's subtle, but it just adds a certain warmth. I hate using that term, but it really does. It makes it sound a lot warmer. Very cool on pads. Apparent, without, with. Sounding like a guitar riff. Let's go back to chorus. This is my favorite one here. Whew, love that. Intensity, depth, and speed of whatever LFO we're working with, so this is pretty self-explanatory. Shade is more of a mix or volume knob. Shape is the shape of the LFO. So this is quite a specific, like, guitar-y sounding pedal, but I'm not sure I'll ever get rid of this thing just because of the quality. If I want to go for that sound, this is some of the highest quality that I've heard. There isn't any sort of MIDI implementation here. This is what you get, and honestly, I like simple pedals like this. But the downside is that it only has 3 modulation effects. Ramping up the complexity and experimental meter again. There's a MIDI in, MIDI out if you'd like to tempo sync to another instrument. Stereo in, stereo out. There's 12 different modulation effects to choose from. So pattern trim, auto swell, destroyer, which is very interesting. We'll take a look at that. Quadrature, chorus, flanger, rotary, vibe, which is another one of my favorites. Phaser, filter, formant, vintage trem. Just to get an idea, let's start with quadrature. I'm gonna hit play on my riff. And by the way, there's an insane amount of space on this thing. You could store up to 200 presets, and you could jump back and forth from one bank to the next by hitting these two to go down and these two to go up. We'll go back to chorus, and we're gonna do some menu diving in just a second, but just to let you know, you don't necessarily have to do that because you do have a lot of control just right here. In my opinion, at least for most cases, especially for on the fly, like performance effects type things, all the parameters that you need are right here. For chorus, we have mix, tone, and then the speed and depth of the LFO level as well. There's also a tempo sync here. Of course, if we wanted to, we could tempo sync via MIDI. If not, you could just set the tempo right here. That being said, if we want to menu dive and sort of sculpt this a little bit more, of course we can. So on chorus, with these particular parameters, we could actually scroll through them. So there's different chorus modes. So if I press down on mode, there's multi, vibrato, detune, digital. Let's actually go through a few of these just to give you an idea of the difference. Back to mode, digital, detune, vibrato, multi. Within this menu, we also have mix as well as tone, which are actually available right here as well through these parameters. So this is mix, this is tone, right? So they've made the important ones available. Not that the others are not important, but you know what I mean. I promised that we would check out Destroyer, so let's go ahead and do that on the same riff. Vinyl. Cool. Lo-fi. Without. With. Mix. We have different types of filters as well. Ooh, that one's nasty. And I just have a hunch. I have a feeling that the Strymon Mobius is a grower, as in like it'll grow on you over time. I get that feeling. Also worth considering. Electro Harmonix Mod 11, entry level, everything you need right on the surface. Mono in, mono out. GFI synesthesia, definitely more complex. Digital sounding with a ton of sonic combinations and possibilities, mono in, stereo out. The Boss MD200, arguably the most standard pedal of this bunch, digital sounding, solid classic modulation effects options. Wampler Terraform, standard effect sounds with some very clever and useful audio routing options. Great for if you have other effects pedals in your chain or in your collection.